how you felt when you reached out originally, to how you felt when you were leaving the program.
When we reached out originally, we were having we were having a lot of trouble with tantrums with Josephine, and we just didn't know, like, to the point where we weren't sure if it was normal. We were like, why is this happening so much? Why is she was losing it completely over diaper changes and over all sorts of things. And it was a big problem. And Todd and I weren't handling it well. We would lose patience and we would start to yell, and then it would just be, because we've realized that one of our triggers is when she starts yelling at a certain point, then that's a trigger for both of us. And so it would just spiral into this awful thing. And we both hated that so much, Todd and I, and I'm sure Josephine did too. And so, and then we were having trouble just like on a smaller scale with just compliance and other things that are normal for a toddler, but we just didn't know how to deal with them on a daily basis. And so, so that's why we reached out originally. And we had kind of been hoping that she was supposed to start pre-K school for 3-year-olds in the fall, but of course that didn't happen. And we were thinking that maybe having her around other kids and having that sort of structure would help things, and over had that sort of options. So that was another kind of component of our decision to give you a call. And then the program has been really great for us. It's been a big challenge because I'm certainly not a organizer to the same level. And so it was a really big challenge for me to try and come up with, and it still is, we're still trying to figure out, like, okay, what are our boundaries? And so it wasn't even like, we had a really hard time with module 6 because we're like, well, what are they? What are our boundaries? We were still like there were certain things that were like, of course, this one is clear, but like some of them, we just hadn't decided what, seemed reasonable to us. And it's just like, we knew exactly what wasn't reasonable, but we didn't know how to make a very clear boundary about, meal times or, listening when we say no. Like, we're still trying to work all of that out, and we're still, working with module 6 and module 8, because those were the toughest ones for us. They seemed so much bigger for our family anyway than any of the other modules. Like, we were like kind of skipping along through the first 5 modules, and we're like, oh, okay, this is all very manageable, this is all fine. And then we hit 6 and it's like,
bam.
we're gonna need 2 or 3 weeks on this one. And so it was so great that we had the extra 4 weeks so that we could kind of slow down for those to kind of think about all of those parts a little bit more thoroughly. So we actually knew what we were doing before diving in.
Yeah, and you start to realize, which you didn't realize before you joined the program, that, gosh, if we don't even know our boundaries, how can we be upset that they're not doing what we want them to do? Like, we can't
exactly
them, but we don't really think about that because what we want them to do feels logical in our brain.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
So your day-to-day parenting now, yes, it's always a work in progress. Our kids are always growing and adjusting and changing in new stages. How do you and Todd feel just overall? Do you have less anger, less yelling, less stress? Yes, you're still thinking and working, but does it feel more manageable? Does it feel
absolutely we feel like we kind of know. I mean, we don't know what to do all the time, obviously, but we have more confidence, we have more tools to work with. So if there is a tantrum, we no longer, like, I no longer, and I don't think Todd does either, we no longer panic like, oh no, here we go. It's more of a, here we go. And it's we know how to deal with it, and that it will pass more quickly than we had thought it would before, because we don't react in the same way. So it's not an hour of screaming, it's more like 5 to 10 minutes of screaming and then some kind of grumbling. But, and so, yeah, it feels much better for everybody. We feel, we just feel much happier with how we're dealing with issues that come up.
Good. And did you feel like you're welcome. Did you feel like going through the program, it was pretty easy to follow, manageable? It allowed you to sort of make the changes you wanted to make in a way that didn't feel overwhelming?
Yeah. As I said, the first 5, it was like, okay, like going through the yelling and the kind of build up to creating boundaries was all very manageable for us. I mean, we still were working. We were still like doing all of the action tasks and really thinking about like, okay, we can manage this, and this isn't as bad as like, I don't know, we don't have to change entire like who we are as people to do these things. And so but yeah, it was more challenging for us to create the boundaries and everything, but that's us. So it wasn't the program, it was just us, like how we are as parents, that we needed to think about those things a bit more. And we're still struggling. Action tasks is something to actually to do, to kind of
implement what you've learned.
Right. So that we weren't just kind of listening and trying to take notes and then forgetting what we had heard the night before because we haven't gotten enough sleep or something like that. So it was really helpful.
Yeah, the action tasks are where parents make the change, because if we don't do it, we don't do it. And if we don't do it, we don't make change. So that's amazing. Yeah. And what about the level of support? Did you feel supported through the program? If you had questions, do you feel like they were answered in a timely manner? You never felt like you had to stay stuck?
No, it was great. I loved coming to the calls, even if I didn't have questions, because it was so often there were questions that other moms had that if we weren't dealing with the problem right then, I was like thinking, this is something I can absolutely see happening in our family in a couple of years when they get a little bit older. So it was really helpful to hear some of that. Not that I'll remember all of it, but just to know that there are other people out there with these issues. So
for sure. Well, that's amazing. Well, it's been such a pleasure having you in the program. And is there anything that you would have liked to have seen different? Something that would have made it better for you, easier for you, something you felt was missing from the program?
No, I can't think of anything that would have made a difference, aside from having you here in our home to convince Josephine to sleep in another room or something like that, which is not so practical. No, I can't think of anything that would have made things better.
Okay, that's great. Well, I so appreciate you choosing to let me help you guide you down this path, and for enrolling in the program and taking time to share with me. And keep working on the modules like you're doing. I think that's great.
Thank you so much.
Okay, so nice to see you, Mary. Thank you for taking the time.
Good to see you too. Thank you so much. Take care. Bye.